Welcome to Ebru News Africa. I'm Rabia Hawa and here's a look at today's headlines. West African Army chiefs are expected to meet in Mali today to plan the rollout of a regional intervention force to combat rebels. The Central African Republic awaits the appointment of a new Prime Minister to head a national unity government. Chronic transport problems. A train carrying military conscripts derails southwest of Cairo, killing 9 people and wounding 107 others. And we tell you how you can get your child to perform better in school. We introduce you to the Abacus learning tool, which is helping increase speed and performance of children. West African Army chiefs are meeting in Mali to plan the rollout of a UN-mandated 3,300-strong regional intervention force to combat rebels. They will continue their talks on Wednesday. The meeting was extended to a second day after kicking off Tuesday in the Malian capital, Bamako. French troops have joined the fight against the rebels. French President François Hollande, speaking in Dubai on Tuesday, said the main goal is to ensure Mali is safe and that Mali will have a smooth electoral process. On Tuesday, the U.S. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney also said the U.S. is also supporting the French operation. France will only end its intervention in Mali when political stability and an election process have been restored to the rebel-hit West African country. Affirming this, the French President François Hollande has vowed to destroy all rebels in French colony Mali.
French President François Hollande says French forces will destroy or take prisoner any rebels encountered in Mali. He cited that there are only a handful of soldiers in the country right now, but the numbers are expected to swell to 2,500 by the end of the week. When asked about the French forces and what they would do when they encounter the rebels, the president did not mince his words.
Destroy them. Take them prisoner if that's possible, and ensure they won't be able to be a threat in the future.
French forces have been carrying out air raids in the northern half of the country, and they are expected to booster the military expectations in the fight against the rebels. France has vowed to remain in its former colony until it is stable. Exactly what that means and how long it will take isn't clear.
The Central African Republic are waiting for the appointment of a new Prime Minister to head a national unity government after a month of conflict between the army and a rebel coalition, as lawyer Nicolas Tiangaye likely to be chosen.
Tiangaye was chosen Saturday as government chief by the political opposition, while Bozize dismissed the previous government in line with the accords. On Sunday night, the territorial administration minister in the dismissed government, Jussieu Binor, said that Bozize was waiting to be informed in writing of the name put forward by the rebels before announcing a new prime minister. Under the Libreville Accord, mediated by the economic community in Central African states, Bozize will have no authority to sack a future government chief. The pact also provides an immediate ceasefire and a one-year transition period before elections are held. Military leaders of the rebels have begun to return to their posts on the ground in the Central African Republic, a poor landlocked nation plagued by insurgency and military takeovers. Once named, Tiangaye will have the difficult task of forming a government that satisfies all parties the regime, the political opposition, the rebels, civil society, and former rebels who did not take up arms.
A train carrying military conscripts derailed southwest of Cairo on Tuesday, killing 19 people and wounding 107, the health ministry said, highlighting the country's chronic transport problems. The train was taking young recruits from South Egypt to a military camp in Cairo when 2 carriages went off the rails shortly after midnight in the Giza neighborhood of Badrashin, officials said. The injured have been taken to local hospitals for treatment. The accident is the latest in a string of transport disasters plaguing Egypt and comes just 2 weeks after a new transport minister was appointed. Transport Minister Hatem Abdel Latif said an investigation will be launched into the accident. Disgruntled mine workers began gathering at an Anglo-American platinum mine in Rustenburg on Wednesday, a day after the world's largest platinum producer said it would close some of its operations, sell one mine in South Africa and cut 14,000 jobs.
The announcement made on Tuesday comes just months after South African mining strikes turned violent, killing dozens of people. Anglo-American Platinum said a nearly year-long review found that 4 mine shafts needed to be closed and 1 mine sold because of unprofitable operations. The company had fired 12,000 workers and then agreed to reinstate them in October, though the miners did not return to work until November. Amplets on Tuesday said that 13,000 of the jobs it wants to cut are in Rustenburg region. Anglo-American Platinum said it takes its social responsibilities to its laid-off workforce seriously and will try to create 14,000 new jobs focused on housing, infrastructure and small business development.
Rebels in Jordan warned on Tuesday they will step up their campaign against next week's parliamentary elections and against reforms pursued by King Abdullah II.
If we have the choice between the farce of the upcoming elections or peaceful demonstrations taking place against the government, we would rather choose peaceful demonstrations. Peaceful demonstrations will achieve reforms that the electoral farce cannot bring.
The January 23rd vote could set the stage for a possible showdown between Abdullah and the Islamic Action Front, the IAF, the political arm of the powerful Muslim Brotherhood. The group leads a fractured opposition in Jordan that includes liberal youth activists, trade unionists, Arab nationalists and communists. Unlike other Middle East nations where the Brotherhood was, until the Arab Spring revolts, banned or suppressed it, it has been a licensed political party for decades in Jordan. But recently, the group has been eager to gain more power after seeing its peers now ruling in Egypt and Tunisia. Food security prospects in Zimbabwe for 2013 are the worst in the last 3 years. During the peak hunger period of January to March 2013, some 1.7 million people will be in a condition of food insecurity, a significant increase from 1.3 million last year.
These are slim for Connie on her farm in the south of Zimbabwe. She, along with her husband, live with the burden of being HIV positive, and this year they've had to cope with hunger as well.
We only eat 2 meals a day, once in the morning and then in the evening. The children will sometimes not go to school because there is nothing to eat. We can exchange our livestock like the turkeys for some maize meal.
Once known as the breadbasket of Africa, over the last 15 years, Zimbabwe's agricultural sector has gone from boom to bust. President Mugabe's land reforms of a decade ago forced many of the country's skilled white farmers to flee. The rural economy has collapsed in their absence. This year's catastrophic harvest has been the result of a lack of know-how, according to some, while the government says it's because of erratic rainfall brought on by climate change. Whoever is right, one thing is certain: Zimbabweans, up to 1.6 million of them, are going hungry.
The estimate is that 19% on average around the country are in need of food assistance, are food insecure. But this average does not account for the worst of situation like the one in the south, where 30% of the population is in food insecure.
President Mugabe, meanwhile, is said to want to hold fresh elections soon. That's set against a backdrop of hunger and rampant unemployment. There are fears of a repeat of the violence that left at least 200 people dead the last time Zimbabweans went to the polls in 2008.
Public Public primary schools in Kenya are set to close on Thursday the 18th to pave way for political parties to conduct nominations for different elective nominations. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the IEBC, says the closure will enable parties to conduct the exercise without interrupting learning. Several political parties had asked the Ministry of Education to close schools on that day to avail facilities for the primaries. However, Parents, Teachers and Education Minister Mutula Kilonzo opposed the move, arguing that the closure would put a strain on the school calendar, which already faces the challenge of closing for elections on March 4th. Other political parties have said they will use churches, mosques, chief camps, marketplaces and other available public places, but not learning institutions. Children sometimes find it hard to understand some subjects in school, and some of them also work at a slower speed compared to others. To work on this issue, some schools in Kenya have incorporated a learning tool in their curriculum to help the children be faster at learning. Here's Leangari with more.
Kenya is one of the countries that has begun incorporating the abacus learning tool in school curriculums. One such school in Kenya is the Mariam Preparatory School, located in Kahaba West in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, where children come to learn how to use the abacus during arithmetic sessions.
So we are going to start with the teta. We multiply 3 times 9 to get what? 27.
We got a chance to join one of the sessions where children were learning how to use the abacus learning tool at the Mariam Preparatory School.
175 is the highest.
Well, this is the abacus tool, and I'm just wondering exactly how it works to look at all these beads and be able to learn one or two sums from this. And so I have teacher Margaret with me right now to teach me a little bit about how to use the abacus tool. So show me how it works.
So the beads, the moving parts, are the ones that we call the beads, and these are the ones that represent numbers on the abacus. So as you can see, we have the beads on the upper side and then the ones on the lower side. Our abacus is divided by this bar here, we call the middle bar, and this is what actually gives the beads a value. So the beads on the lower side have values of 1 each. There are 4, but each have a value of 1. And then the beads on the upper side have values of 1 each, depending on where they are placed. So when you want to do addition, let's say you want to add a number like 1, you just push 1 bead up against this bar here.
Once mastered, the abacus enables you to add, multiply, subtract and divide much faster than you can with a paper and pencil. Jeff Murichu, one of the students at the Marion Preparatory School, showed us just how fast he can work with the abacus learning tool.
So say you add 3 times say 2, you less 3, add 5.
Children who have been learning the abacus here in Marion Preparatory School say they have benefited greatly from learning arithmetics with the abacus learning tool.
It really helps in subjects and in accuracy in life.
Abacus helps the kid improving speed, memory, creativity, information processing. Basically, the child becomes sharper even as he grows up.
The abacus learning tool seems like a very simple tool, but the impact of this learning tool is being felt in all the Kenyan schools that have incorporated this tool in their learning curriculum. This tool is helping the minds of children to become sharper and thereby helping them perform better in subjects. Reporting for Ebru News Africa, I'm Leangari.
We love Ebru Africa TV.
New manager of Mali's national team, the Eagles, says that the violence in the country has made the stakes higher than ever. Patrice Carteron says the team wants to work hard to bring hope to the Malian people, who are currently faced with an unfortunate political situation.
Mali are one of the teams tipped to go far in this year's Africa Cup of Nations. That's despite the build-up to this year's tournament being overshadowed by armed conflict in the north. New manager Patrice Carteron, who replaced fellow Frenchman Alain Giresse last July, recognises that because of the violence, the stakes are now higher than ever.
I feel the players and the backroom staff want to fight to give a bit of happiness to people who have had to deal with a serious political situation and a war ravaging the north of the country for several months now. Each game arouses a lot of hope and a lot of happiness.
The Eagles, as Mali's national team is known, finished third a year ago in the competition, co-hosted by Equatorial Guinea and Gabon. Captain Seydou Keita is now hoping that a good showing in South Africa will boost morale back home.
We only know how to win, and perhaps this match will bring us 3 points. Today, though, Mali is going through a tough time, so it's about much more than getting 3 points.
Keita and the rest of the squad are unlikely to have too many fans from Mali cheering them on in South Africa, as travel is too costly for most supporters, and those who can't make the trip are keen to give the squad as big a send-off as possible.
Mali is ranked third in terms of quality, so we want to say to the team, the coach, and his assistants that we are ready to support the team in these difficult circumstances.
Mali opened their campaign against Niger on Sunday, with Democratic Republic of Congo and West African rivals Ghana making up the group.
2 people had been killed after a helicopter crashed into a crane on top of a building in central London on Wednesday. According to a statement from British police, 2 other injured people were taken to hospital.
Metropolitan Police Commissioner Bernard Huganhue said there were 11 casualties. The helicopter crashed just south of the River Thames, near the underground and mainline train station at Vauxhall, not far from the British intelligence agency M16. Amateur video from the area where the helicopter crashed showed wreckage burning in a street and a large plume of black smoke rising in the air.
We just heard an explosion. It sounded like a fighter plane flying over, and we just heard a loud explosion, and we thought it'd be a terrorist attack. And we came straight out onto the main road, and there was huge piles of smoke over the back there. And somebody had shouted, all the guys were running out of sight, and they just shouted that there'd been a plane flown into the crane there.
Witnesses said the helicopter hit a crane on top of a 50-story residential building under construction. The cause of the crash was not established immediately, but the Ministry of Defense said it was not a military helicopter. A British security official said the incident was not terror-related. Investigators are said to be looking at factors including the misty weather and whether the crane had navigation lights.
When you're on the road, how many female taxi drivers do you actually see? Not that many, right? Ebru's Tasmin Mahfouz finds out why being a cabbie is often a boys' club.
The American taxi industry is a stubbornly male business. In fact, only 2% out of all taxi drivers, that's about 225,000 in all, are female. Lisa Herbst has been driving a taxi since she was 19 years old.
I've been doing it 20 years for 12 hours, so it's nothing to me. Doesn't bother me at all. You meet all kinds of people, all kinds. You have good conversations, you get good relationships with people.
She is very honest, very loyal, hardworking, on time.
It's fun. I like it.
In New York City, women account for 60% of all taxi rides, but 99% of the drivers are men. Internationally, there are several women-only cab companies. As an owner of a company and in a male-dominated business, why do you think there are more male drivers, not female drivers?
I think it's a stigma. I think women drivers are probably intimidated, even though Lisa's probably one of the safest drivers we have.
There's no fear involved. I mean, women can be anything they want to be. Just go out there, just be aware of your surroundings.
Would you be interested to hire more female drivers?
I would. And this is the perfect environment. It's a pretty low crime rate. All the calls are monitored through the office, so we know where everybody is.
You're a wife, and you're a mother, and you're also a career woman. So how do you balance these 3 aspects of your life together?
It's not easy to balance it, but I try. Set aside for my home and for my job and my home.
People had mixed feelings about the profession.
I think it would be fun to meet all kinds of people and get around town. It'd be great.
I would do it, especially if I needed work.
They should not be on the road as a taxi driver, no. They're good drivers, believe me, better than the men.
Their problem is they're on the phone too much and it's dangerous. So if she's a taxi driver, doesn't use the phone, she's fine with me.
Yeah, why not?
So what do you think? Should there be more lady cab drivers? Tasmin Mahfouz, Ebru News, New Jersey.
Behind the bars of Białystok prison in the east of Poland, inmates are putting paint to paper, creating religious art in a unique rehabilitation program.
A steady hand and a lot of patience are required to paint a picture like this. But these artists aren't short of time. They're all inmates at the Białystok prison in the east of Poland. And prisoners like Małgorzata, sentenced to 24 years in jail, have uncovered some hidden talents.
I never knew how to paint. It wasn't my cup of tea. And now I'm starting to make progress. I can see it myself and I'm happy with how I'm doing.
Małgorzata's sentence was cut by a third owing to good behaviour, but she still has another 8 years to serve. The idea behind the programme is to help the prisoners before they re-enter society, developing confidence and exploring the spiritual history of the paintings.
At the start, most inmates come to kill a bit of time so that it passes more quickly, to try something more interesting. Some also do it to earn good behaviour, but at the end of the classes, everyone wants to have their paintings blessed and keep them.
In a predominantly Catholic country, the Białystok region is the stronghold of the Polish Orthodox Church.
It calms me down and brings me peace. I have a lighter heart and my faith is strengthened. I already pray to the picture of the Virgin Mary that I created.
The prison currently only runs 2 workshops, but if more funding's provided, it's hoped other inmates will have the chance to put paint to paper.
Last year at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit, Ford's Lincoln display had a heavy emphasis of luxury that helped set the brand apart from Ford's other vehicles. This year, the newly renamed Lincoln Motor Company's display at Cobo Center outdid itself.
A fancy entrance for an even fancier car. This is the Lincoln MK6, the latest addition to Ford's luxury brand.
We are excited to serve our customers with the luxury vehicles they want and they value. Lincoln is the brand that will reignite these opportunities for growth at the Ford Motor Company.
Opportunities that are hard to come by for U.S. automakers in a luxury market dominated by Europe. Germany's BMW and Mercedes are the top 2 luxury cars in the world, with Japan's Lexus firmly in 3rd place. Lincoln lags far behind, with sales in 2012 dropping by 4%. GM's Cadillac has fared slightly better, but its performance pales in comparison to the German powerhouse. Britain's Bentley rounds up Europe's domination of the premium market. Its latest model costs more than $200,000, but has been flying off showroom floors.
The US remains our largest market. We sold 2,315 cars last year, which is 23% more than the year before.
Ron Edwards has been following the auto industry for years. He says that despite Lincoln and Cadillac's efforts, American brands have got nothing on Europe.
In my opinion, they still have a ways to go, even as far as design. I mean, I have not yet ever seen a Cadillac that compares to the car we're sitting in.
The U.S. has lost on home soil to foreign brands, and it's now turning to China in the hopes that the world's largest market would finally give American luxury cars a much-needed boost.
Thanks for watching Ebru News Africa. That's all we had time for today, but do join us again next time for more top stories. I'm Rabia Hawa.